Okay, here I am again. Yes. So where were we? Well, we now have a little aggressive sound for the kick in, but it's mostly important how this one will combine with the other kick later. So I now got my color here, and it's time to turn on my gate because we don't want to be hearing this all the time. I mean, you hear all this extra noise, and we just cannot really use that. So I turn on my gate, and I only want to hear it when there is actually a kick. And as you can see, there's not a lot happening right now. The gate is on, but yeah, it doesn't do shit. So I am going to zoom in on the screen again, and we are going to turn on the attack. We're going to open that one, and we're going to turn down the hold, which actually keeps it open for a certain amount of time. Next to that, also the release. And you can see that it is activating a lot quicker now. And suddenly it's a lot more peaceful. Well, and that is what we want. Next up, the compressor. We go to the compressor, and we're gonna see what we actually have here. Well, there are, of course, a lot of different types of music and different ways to use the compressor. For my kick, I want to use it to emphasize it a little bit, but not make it too loud. And of course, I don't want to make it too aggressive because then you will get a very pressurized feeling. If I, for example, would be turning it up like this, then the kick has almost no air to it anymore whatsoever. So I'm gonna turn this one back a bit. The only reason why I want to use it is if the thing goes too loud, it will hold it back a little bit. This way I can actually, then it still has a little bit of air to it. And talking about air, I also want to give the gate a little bit more room because you hear that right now, right after you hit, it's already done. So I want to turn the attack a little bit lower. And we now got a way more air, and we got more air in our kick. So what did we do? Okay, so in retrospect, we used low cut on our kick in. We used a gate. We used a low cut on our kick in. Then first we EQ'd it the way how I wanted. Then I put a gate on it, and then I put a compressor on it. And yeah, there you have it. The first part, kick. Now, next we are going to work on the kick out. Well, that's a whole different little bird, isn't it? I used a D6 here, and I personally love the D6. Although downside to it has a great sound, but you cannot really do a lot to it since it's already a colored mic. Well, I am not going to use low cut here because, that kind of defeats the purpose, right? We want our low in the kick. So I'm going to my view, and I'm going to see what we have here in with our EQ. As you can see, there's a nice lot of low. Well, do you want to do anything about this? Well, let's see what happens, shall we? Oh, well, we don't want to cut. It's nice. We now got that low sub, and let's see what happens if we combine it with the kick in. Sounds a bit too compressed, if you ask me. Well, first I am going to finish the kick out. So I am quite happy with the sound of it. You know, I don't want to do too much about it. However, I do not use the highs since I have the better for that. So I am going basically to use a high cuts. That way, this thing can focus on what it does best. But I still want that better a little bit in, you know, you don't want to lose too much of it. But this middle area is also not too important. So, let's see, low mid. Where are you? I'm not using this area. So why would I want it? Well, of course, you see me now adding a little bit on the low, and yeah, that's an option. But try to think as your equalizer as a cleaner. So do not add too much. Yeah, just try to take more away and use as much of the natural sound as you can. Because if you're adding frequencies, if you're turning them up, then you basically create sounds that are not really there. Now for the gate, again I need to change it a bit again. Turning the attack up, turning the hold down. And you can hear that it's there's a lot less noise, which of course we love. We will use the overheads later to add that. So now I'm going to add the kick in. But what do I hear? I am not completely happy with that kick in. Going to turn the threshold a little bit down. Okay, I already like this a lot more. And I'm gonna see what happens if I turn on the overheads, because if I turn on the overheads, you will hear a lot less of the compression that's actually going on. We are now, of course, only focusing on the kick, and yeah, that's not always too handy. If I only work with the kick, then you can't really hear what's going on. You don't really have a total picture. So I'm going to turn on the overheads. I'm going to turn them off of mute. I'm going to add them to what is going on here. And you hear that there is a lot less compression to be heard. It's still there, but because of all the other sounds, you won't hear it that much. Okay, so I'm done now with the kick for now. So I'm going to turn them on mute. For now I like how they are doing right here.